Have you ever heard the phrase, be careful what you pray for? Now, I don't think God is like some magic genie who purposefully misunderstands our prayers, like the man who asks for $1 million only to see a sea of deer in his front yard. No, God is not out to trap us, but regardless, sometimes we ask for God to do things for us and we have no idea what the consequences might be if He were to say, yes, I'll do that. In our tradition, we say the Lord's Prayer quite often. And just as the prayer opens, we say, Hallowed be thy name. Does this mean that God's name is Mr. Hallowed? No. Most of the time, I think we mean, when we say this, God, your name is holy. But we're not taught to say, Our Father who art in heaven, holy is your name. We're taught to say, Hallowed be thy name. What does that mean? Does this mean that God's name is holy? Absolutely. But that's not all it means. What we are doing is asking God to make His name sanctified, to make His name known and respected. That's what it means to hallow. To hallow is an action. We're saying, God, do something with your name. Let it be known as holy. Lift your name on high. Well, this is what we have been exploring in this series. In part 1, we discussed our redemption. God has saved us, not just for the life to come, but for life now. He redeems us so that we might be His representatives of His love. In part 2, we discussed that this can be lived out practically by serving those most in need. In part 3, we saw how holy living our faith out before others in public can have a positive impact on those watching around us. They might turn to God. In other words, we have seen how hallowing God's name in our actions is an act of selfless love before others. So in Ezekiel, God condemns His people through the prophet by pointing out that as Israel has lived their public life before others, they're not living for God, and therefore they're profaning His name. See, when we refuse to live in the grace that God has provided us before a hurting world, we profane God's name by leading people to think He's too weak to make us the people we claim to be. But then God says this as a prophecy for those people who will one day receive the Holy Spirit. That's us as the church. Therefore, say to the Israelites, this is what the sovereign Lord says. It is not for your sake, people of Israel, that I'm going to do these things, but for the sake of my holy name, which you have profaned among the nations which you have gone. I will show the holiness of my great name, which you have profaned amongst the nations, the name you have profaned amongst them. Then the nations will know that I am the Lord, declares the sovereign Lord, when I am proved holy through you before their eyes. For I will take you out of the nations, I will gather you from all the countries, and bring you back into your own land. I will sprinkle you with clean water, and you will be clean. I will cleanse you from all your impurities and your idols. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit in you and move you to follow my decrees and be careful to keep my laws. Ezekiel 36, 22 through 27. So what is God saying here? He's saying that He wishes to hallow His name through His people by making them capable of living for Him before the eyes of a watching world. When we say, Hallowed be thy name, we're asking God to display His goodness through us. We should never be a people who say, oh, don't look to me. We're just sinners. Don't look to the church. Because we're redeemed. We can live out our life in the power of God. That is our calling, to show others that God is a God of love by living that love out for them.